Hello everybody and welcome to Spoiler Warning, featuring myself, Tom Colohue, as we dive into the great and the good and the wild and the wacky of wrestling news. Our top stories today: the new deal for Drew McIntyre and where it would put him on the card, the contract extension for Mercedes Mone and her interest and negotiations active with AEW, Becky Lynch and her decision, particularly with a new contract that we first discussed on Friday, and indeed with Hollywood calling. A little bit about big names that are emerging from NXT and are particularly popular when it comes to backstage in WWE main roster as well. Bobby Lashley and his current picture with creative. The same with Baron Corbin. There are currently no ideas for Baron Corbin. I want to discuss that a little bit. CM Punk agreeing to return to AEW. There's a bit for you. He's officially agreed to return, and something on a confirmation from Nick Khan. So plenty of news to cover, plenty to discuss. As usual, I'll also be answering as many of your questions as I can. Want to say a huge thank you to everyone who's already joined us: Sean, Bailey, Shogun, Daniela, Wanarosco, Mick, Richard, Daz, Jaden, Joe. Plenty of people so far, at least, and plenty more to come, I am sure. We already have 47 people watching and 23 likes. Please remember to hit that thumbs up. So, as usual, I'll go through a few questions before we get to our first piece of news so the room can fill up. Ray is saying, is Jordan Grace leaving Impact Wrestling when her contract expires? If her contract expires, yes, she will leave. I don't personally suspect her contract will expire. I suspect she'll sign an extension. Callie is here saying, evening, Tom. Welcome, Callie. Zane says, is there any Nick Aldis news? None whatsoever. I'm still yet to hear anything about any interest from WWE on Nick Aldis. Welcome, Marcel. Welcome, Brad. Welcome Leon, welcome Adam, thank you so many of you, it's great to see so many familiar faces. Sean says, hi Tom, Becky put out a tweet saying she won't be at Raw tonight, blackened her cover picture on Twitter and changed her name. Possible she is working us? Possible, yes, but there is plenty more to discuss on that one. I will be diving into it. And Bailey says, hello Tom, a full news lineup this evening. Full indeed. Trekkipedia says everyone's freaking out over Drew blacking out his profile, but Cora did that a few weeks ago. Yep, he won't be the first, he won't be the last. He has in fact already been usurped by Becky. Carmelina says, hi Tom, what do you think will happen when the Usos lose their rematch for the tag team titles? I think we'll get new tag team challengers going into the Saudi Arabia show, where I don't expect Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn to be champions. In fact, I kind of expect Damage Control to have that distinction. Welcome Venom, how you doing? Eric says, hi Tom, how are you? Any news on Big E? I've shared everything I had on Big E already. He is expected back to the WWE, but there are still plenty of things to check out. He has not officially been cleared. There are still some tests. Shogun says, any Wyatt news, Tom? The Wyatt news I've already shared on Friday. We are expecting him back after Backlash, but he is going to have to write a new storyline for himself and anyone else he wants to write for, that being, of course, Uncle Howdy and potentially Alexa Bliss. Hello, Michael. How are you? Sean says, another reason we haven't seen Alexa is because she's filming Celebrity Family Feud. I believe Xavier Woods, Liv Morgan, Becky Lynch, Seth Rollins, and many more were also featured on that, so I don't think that's kind of the reason. Trekkipedia, thank you kindly, says, everyone help out Tom, please, and hit the like button, subscribe, and share it out. Folks, if you've not yet done so, I have put out a tweet stating that this show was going live, and I'd very much appreciate it if anyone could share that far and wide as much as they could. I'll just grab it for you as I go into this and continue reading questions. But thank you very much, Trekkipedia. We are currently on 2,367 subscribers. 3 more gets us to 2,370. Razar says, ready for spoiler warning. Ever since I started watching, I've become more informed and don't get fooled by fake news stories anymore. That is everything I want from this show, so thank you for that, Razar. I want to say, Tom, I guess Mercedes Mone in AEW is possible now. Possible, yes. More on that later. There you go. Richard says, Nick Aldis returned to Impact Wrestling last night at Rebellion, which explains why I've never heard of any WWE interest. Adam says, I'm about done with WWE. Vince makes his way into creative. I hope Triple H will make his own wrestling company. Vince has already made his way into creative. And Triple H will not make his own wrestling company. Khalid says, hey, I love spoiler warning on Friday Night SmackDown, but I still can't wait to see Bray Wyatt SmackDown after Backlash. Mark says, evening Tom, hope you had a great weekend and looking forward to the show. Thank you, Mark, and welcome. Richard said, is Mercedes Mone's deal with New Japan up after a match against Maya Iwatani at the weekend? Yes, it is. This is why I have already previously reported that she's looking to wrap up her work in Japan now, and is looking to move over to the United States. But there'll be plenty more on that to come. Oop, we've just caught up a little bit. Trekkipedia says, with Braun Strowman and Bron Breakker having a similar sounding first name, could you see them rebranding him with a new name? I see that as possible, but not necessarily likely. There's just a lot of play here. A lot of play. So I don't necessarily see it being the first choice of action, but I do see it being a potential choice of action. I am currently posting a link to the Twitter into the chats now. If you do want to help out and you have a Twitter, I would very much appreciate a retweet there. Hello, Alid. How you doing? Dad says, where do you think Seth will go in the draft, Tom? Personally, I think he stays on Raw. Razar says, why is the draft happening before Backlash? I find that odd. Mostly for ratings. They're in a difficult time right now between WrestleMania and SummerSlam, where ratings usually drop down. They have some ideas, but Triple H is hoping to keep hold of them. It's been pushed back by a couple of weeks because it was supposed to be taking place earlier, but then Vince McMahon got hold of it. Daniela says, 80 watching, only 32 likes. That's true, we have 83 watching and 34 likes. If you're able to, please remember to hit that thumbs up. It basically guarantees growth of this channel just from a few extra thumbs. Khalid, yes, Bray Wyatt was writing stories for Uncle Howdy. Venom says, do you think we see Johnny tonight? I do not know. Peter says, guess what? I am here with the tables. If you have a problem with that, then I have 3 words. Leave a like. Thank you, Peter. Appreciate that. Welcome, sir. Riyadh says, say Tom, hope you had a great weekend. Always get excited for spoiler warning. And Hogan says, weirdly enough, King of the Ring being changed to Night of Champions actually adds more doubt to the result of the KO Sami Usos rematch. It'd easily be KO Sami Zayn for me. Pardon me, otherwise. Venom says, would Sasha go into AEW? More on that story later. Zane says, Impact Wrestling Rebellion was a good pay-per-view. Impact in general do very good shows, and they're really highly rated. It's just a shame that I don't have the time, unfortunately, to watch enough of them. Adam says, think about it, Tom, if Triple H is removed, then can you... If Triple H, then. That's an assumption, and you're asking me to make decisions based on it. Triple H has no interest in starting his own wrestling company. Triple H did not want to be in charge of a wrestling company to begin with. He only ever wanted to wrestle. He just happened to end up here. Noob says, hello Tom, seems like the Becky news is popping like crazy. It absolutely is, and there's plenty more to share on it. Trekkipedia says, do you see Morrison doing more boxing, and who would you like to see him fight? I'd like to see John Morrison versus KSI. Why not that? That would certainly get both their names a little bit bigger, so why not? Venom, no. Christian says, if WWE is going to try and make the final hour of Raw more edgy, I wonder if that would mean that SmackDown would be more comedic. There is no correlation between the two. One being more edgy, because it's on later, will not affect SmackDown in any way, shape or form. Thank you, Callie, bringing the snaps. Carl says, if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure to hit that like button, free to do, and help Tom Colohue greatly. Cheers, mate. I appreciate all of you promoting me so aggressively. I appreciate that. Thank you, guys. Joe says, I'm a little bit sad if Drew goes, though. It is my hero I've always watched. If he's going somewhere else. You can always switch channel. Daniela says, it's a shame to me that we haven't seen progression on the Hurt Business. Cedric Shelton MVP storyline on Raw. Me too. The fact that they swapped it over to Bobby Lashley versus Bray instead of Bobby Lashley versus Brock Lesnar is the reason for that. Hector, welcome, says, happy Monday, Tom. I don't know if this is on your rundown or not, but what have you heard on Becky Lynch's contract? In fact, as we're about to hit 10 minutes, let's do a bit of a recap of what the headlines are, and then I'll start the news. So, our headlines today start with Drew McIntyre, his new deal that is on the table at the moment, and what that could mean for pay-per-views such as Money in the Bank. The contract extension for Mercedes Mone, and the current negotiation status of her and AEW. Becky Lynch and her current contract situation. I already reported on Friday that she's negotiating a new contract as we speak for limited dates, and there is more to come on that. A little bit about talent in NXT who've caught the eye of particularly Vince McMahon recently, who you may end up seeing quite a lot more of. Bobby Lashley and his status, particularly as regards creative. Same for Baron Corbin. CM Punk has officially agreed to return to AEW, and we have more on that. And finally, Nick Khan confirming a spoiler warning story. So let's start with Drew McIntyre. As usual at this point, I do ask you to please leave a like if you haven't already. I will slow down on that, I promise. And we only need 3 more subscribers to get to a 2,370. So please do consider it as we go through the news. Drew McIntyre's contract expires in April, but he wants assurances and he wants guarantees now. He has made it clear to the WWE that he wants to start negotiations for a new contract. The WWE, particularly Triple H, not altogether interested in doing so when at the moment their financial details are limited due to the incoming sale for Endeavor. Contract negotiations are active and ongoing, but actual signatures are hard to guarantee right now, particularly when Logan Paul was done before WrestleMania, or at least during WrestleMania I should say, when it wasn't an option to do otherwise because they didn't know what the Endeavor deal would entail. Drew McIntyre is requesting an increase in money, but Hogan, it's April 2024. Thank you for clarifying. It's an increase in money, but he's more interested in knowing what push he is going to get. Drew McIntyre wants back to the WWE Championship picture. And a large part of that means that Drew McIntyre may get another shot at Roman Reigns. It also puts him directly into a position whereby Drew McIntyre has become one of the favoured competitors to win Money in the Bank. That is something they could potentially offer him to try and keep him on side. There is a year until his contract expires. The WWE believe that is plenty of time. Drew McIntyre has apparently been leaking information. This is according to news outlets that he has spoken to. Drew McIntyre is currently leaking information to dirt sheets to try and get himself a better deal. Luvens, welcome, says, I want Sasha to face a lot more Stardom talent before she leaves. Callie's excited to get the tables up. Eric says, do you think Sami and KO lose their titles in 2 weeks? Nope. Riyadh says, just liked and subscribed. Just liked and retweeted your tweet, Tom. I thought it was a YouTube thing. Hope everyone else here in the chat who has Twitter can do so as well. Thank you, Riyadh. I appreciate that. And we are seeing nearly 100 people in this chat right now, so clearly it's working. Thank you. Brad is a fan of Drew as well. Bruce says, hi, Tom. Good to see you, buddy. Welcome, Bruce. How you doing? Adam encourages people to subscribe. Richard says, who will win, Austin Theory or Bobby Lashley? Whoever is booked to. Austin Theory. Hello, Lauren. Welcome to the show. Yeah, Mick, that's the word I went with. I thought that might be a bit much, but apparently not. Sean says, do you think we get a title swap this year after the draft? No, I think we get a title swap during the draft. So I do think the IC and the US titles may well swap sides. If we see Bobby Lashley win tonight, that's probably why. A direct swap between Bobby Lash and Gunter. Wikipedia says, why do people want to see blood back in WWE? For me, it just seems excessive. If it's an ancient, that's... ancient, wow. If it's an accident, that's one thing, but when they do weekly like Mox, it gets to be too much for me. I think they understand that the fans are looking for blood every now and then. Personally, I'm happy, very happy, that we're not at a point where there's blood everywhere at all times. Ray says, Steve Macklin, aka Steve Cutler in WWE, is the new Impact Wrestling Heavyweight Champion. Joe says, hello, Traffic. How are you to Traffic? Leuven says, Drew McIntyre hopefully goes to AEW. They need more heavyweights and Drew could give them what they need. If so, it'll take a year and I don't personally think they're going to let him go. Welcome, Frankie DeGennaro. Thank you very kindly for subscribing. I have seen your question. I will get to it very shortly, just as soon as I'm able to catch up with the chat. Don't you worry, I'll be there in no time. Evening, Stuart. How you doing? Venom says Keith Lee was amazing in NXT, ruined on the main roster. Why do you reckon this is, Tom? A number of different reasons. I don't think he was ruined per se, but it was mostly the heart condition which just stalled any momentum that he had. Ken says, will WWE be signing any free agents? They are interested in quite a number of free agents, most of which I can't name at this point, other than, for example, Naomi, who's still out there and they are still trying. Mark says, isn't that a bad look if he is actually leaking news? Only if the WWE know about it for sure. Steve, welcome. There's what's up, Tom? Hope you're doing well, sir. Also, hi to everyone in the chat. I am very, very happy to see so many people chatting amongst themselves, saying hi to each other, and just, making everyone feel part of the community. Welcome, Steve. A key part of the community for a very long time. Leuven says, I think the Usos beat Sami and KO because they're the best tag team in the world, so why not? Jermaine says, hi Tom, what did I miss? Welcome, Jermaine. You did miss the headlines, but our only piece of news so far has been about Drew McIntyre. The Mercedes Mone, the Becky Lynch news has not been mentioned yet, nor has the CM Punk news. Frankie says, any news on who will be swapping rosters yet? I have my predictions up when it comes to formally who is definitely going. At the moment, the only name I can guarantee is Judgment Day, primarily because of that SmackDown Women's Championship change to Rhea Ripley. At the moment, while there were a number of people who were agreed on, Vince McMahon is now in a position where he has to confirm all of the draft picks, so there has been a delay while he sorts that out. Riyadh says, I'm a big Drew fan as well, loved how they built him up for his title run in 2020, been a while since he's held it, so another run will be refreshing. Hogan says Fury Lashley reeks of the classic no contest interference finish to continue the Lashley Reed program. 23 Fresh says, is the Hurt business coming back? Triple H plans what to do that. However, the big issue at the moment, unfortunately, is just that since Vince McMahon came back into the fold, he changed the game, booked Bobby versus Bray instead of Bobby versus Brock, and the Hurt business were forgotten in the Impact. Carmelina says, do you think when the Usos lose, the Roman and Solo will attack them? Not necessarily just yet, but it's coming. It's coming. No worries, Khalid. Appreciate it. Daniela says, tonight on Raw, they've announced Lashley versus Theory, non-title. How come they're not setting up Theory's next challenger tonight, as he missed last week? They may well be setting his next challenger up. However, it looks like the United States Championship may not be defended at Backlash to make room for other championships and other matches. Trekkipedia says, King and Queen of the Ring still happening and just delayed. I believe so. However, that is not a report. That is just my opinion. Juan Roscoe says, hey Tom, if Mercedes Mone does sign of AEW, which title makes sense, TBS or the main women's title? Let me just confirm what I'm already reporting on that one. That is my second piece of news, and I'll answer that question for you. Joey, welcome, says, hey Tom, do you think WWE won't re-sign a lot of the mid-carders next year since they got big contracts coming up with Becky and Drew? It depends. If Endeavour put a lot of money into WWE, as there is a discussion of potentially happening, they won't really need to worry too much about that. Adam says, do you reckon it's unlikely WWE can get Sasha back? Yeah, I've already reported that one. Sean says, I don't think it's a title match. I think it's non-title between Fury and Lashley. Well, there you go. Tells you everything, really, about who's going to win. Zane, I'm not drinking cherry coke because I don't want the caffeine. I will be going to bed after this. I no longer have to fight to stay awake, so I'm just on juice. Thank you, Trekkipedia. Hurl says, what kind of push is Nakamura getting? Any news on that? Yes, I clarified that one on Friday. Spoiler warning. To recap, though, I do advise you to check out the full details. He'll be getting a mid-card championship level push. Venom says, I hope they sort out the NXT call-ups. Leuven is saying, any news on the two big belts in WWE merging to be one belt and maybe a new title design? No news. This is not something I reported at the time, and I'm waiting on a lot more information as regards that one. Peter says, I'm thinking of starting the Tom Colohue Appreciation Society. Who wants to join? To be fair, at times, I'm pretty sure that's just my Discord. A lot of people, really big fans in there, and I'm really happy about it. Ricky Thorne says, hi Tom, hope you're well and had a good weekend. I did indeed, thank you Ricky. Joey says, Louis Dango reported Shinsuke could face Roman at Night of Champions. I think this is a bad idea since he just came back. So he reported that a match might happen. It's not really a report, is it? 23 Fresh says, will Raw Underground ever return? No. Rosar says, I kind of have a feeling that Endeavour is in charge of the finances. A lot of top talents might get lowballed in money and leave. Hope I'm wrong. Brad says, do you see Endeavour overruling Vince on anything? Yes, they could, but I don't think they will. Daniela says, do you think Gunter's title will be defended at Backlash? Yes, I do. I think they're setting up Sheamus in that position once again. Leuven says, I can't see WWE taking one belt off of whoever beats Roman because it makes them look significantly weaker. I agree. Shogun says, rematch with no sense like Theory and Lashley once again. Did we need to? Thanks Vince for this since he can change the show right by Triple H. He did not book this match. Hector says, it's so interesting AEW's new proposed show will be airing Saturdays from 8 to 10, which is the same slot for UFC and WWE pay-per-views. If we thought the rating for Dynamite and Rampage was bad, wait till that show launches. Mick says, which matches do you see on the Backlash card apart from Brock, Cody and Dom Priest, Ray, Bunny? At the moment, not much of a real push on that one. Io versus Bianca has certainly been mentioned. I do think Rhea versus Zelina will make the card as well. Adam says, according to Fightful, Johnny Gargano was wanted to stay away from by Vince McMahon. What about Dexter Lumis? Consistent. I can't really comment on Fightful's report. I'm not aware of it myself. 23 says, what does AEW need to do to increase their ratings? They need bigger names. They just need bigger names. Thank you very much, Mark, for becoming a channel member. I highly appreciate it. There will be a lot more information going into the members only section soon. I'm going to do a bit on the information that I got about Liv Morgan and how I came by that information that you may find very interesting as well. Thank you very much, sir. Joey says, does Mercedes not want to go back to WWE anymore with Vince having creative control? All right, well, there's still plenty of questions, but I kind of have to start answering this. So second piece of news is as regards Mercedes Mone. Once again, please remember to hit like. We currently have 47 likes and 112 viewers, and subscribe if you haven't already. We have 2,367. I'm hoping we can get 3 during the show, which would lead us with 2,370, a very good number that would make me very happy. Mercedes Mone was reported by Dave Meltzer to be a free agent and was reported by Mercedes Mone to be a free agent. Those who watch Spoiler Warning will already be fully aware she was not a free agent. She has a contract that permits her to wrestle at New Japan shows, at Bushi Road shows, and at Stardom. That contract was for 3 matches, I believe it was 3 matches, one of which she would win the championship, and one of which, the final one, she would lose the championship. They are currently trying to negotiate a new contract. After all, she is a significant draw for Japanese companies and is gaining a lot of additional interest to their divisions. They want to keep her in Japan. However, Mercedes Mone is not believed to be too interested in purely working Japan and does want to work in America once again. AEW's Tony Khan has been in contact, or at least previously had been in contact, and has offered her a number of different opportunities, including a main event level run in AEW, and something that she does want and has openly been saying that she wants, a feud with Jade Cargill. Now, I don't necessarily think that means we're going to see Mercedes Mone come in and get a secondary title. I think potentially we get a feud with Jade Cargill after Jade loses that championship and starts coming after the top championship. That's personally what I would expect. What I will say is that Mercedes is looking to extend her contract in Japan as well, even though she's looking to move to America. She does want to work a Forbidden Door show, and New Japan Stardom are very interested in having that happen. So, Mercedes Mone, not a free agent, as was previously reported by Dave Meltzer and was previously reported by Mercedes Mone herself. She is in fact a contracted employee, much as I myself reported. Her contract is coming to an end. She has already been contacted by Tony Khan and is interested in working what has been offered, a main event level program and a feud with Jade Cargill, potentially also a Forbidden Door show. She wants to take her championship and represent Japan at Forbidden Door. That could be a really good, really fun champion versus champion match. Mike says, with the draft coming, does Survivor Series War Games return to brand versus brand? I haven't heard anything on that yet. I'm trying to get more information on it. Richard says there are plans to push Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae. There are plans to push everyone apart from a few that they don't have creative plans for at the moment. They're just on creative hiatus while we wait for that moment. Hogan says if they flip Theory and Gunter, Theory Nakamura would probably be a good place to go. I completely agree. Interesting, Adam. English Eradicator. Venom says, do you think they will involve NXT in Survivor Series again? There has been no suggestion that under Triple H, NXT will be involved in Survivor Series. Carmelina says, who do you think will challenge Roman at Night of Champions? Not sure at this point, but I still think Cody's the favoured option. Daniela says, is there an update on a Mustafa Ali push? There is no real Mustafa Ali push, though he's pretty happy with his position on the card at the moment. He's at least appearing on TV. Leuven says, speaking of Raw Underground, why didn't they put Riddle on there? I feel like he would be the perfect guy for that since he's a former MMA fighter, because he would never lose. Bruce, do you mean Lash Legend? Joey says, TK bringing back Punk for the UK show. More on that shortly. Leuven says, maybe even Chad Gable in Raw Underground, who was an amateur wrestler. There was a couple of people involved. Ziggler was there for a little while, for example. Sean says, we are also getting another rematch between Seth and Miz. Yes, we are. That is essentially... So, to be clear on this one, they've booked Seth on Raw tonight to basically say to the fans, no, seriously, Seth's not left. It's quite funny. No 23 fresh Mustafa Ali does not, at current, to my knowledge, want to leave the WWE. Michael says some fans are entirely too obsessed with ratings. You unfortunately get fans who are too obsessed with basically everything in wrestling. I was fully aware that we might get a few Mercedes money marks in here who are just going to go mental a little bit. Thankfully, we've only got good ones. Just good ones. Mark gets to drop the tables and he's very, very excited about it. Rulrun says, do you see a Judgment Day versus LWO match happening at Backlash? Yes, I do. Definitely as regards Bad Bunny as well. Joe says, can you see John Cena being at SummerSlam? Yes. Venom says, if they offered her a big push, would she come back? It depends on her current contract situation. However, I don't believe at the moment that there is much interest from Mercedes Mone to return to the WWE. That may change in time, but at the moment, there simply isn't interest in doing so. Ken says, do you think Shelton Benjamin should face Roman? I think it would be a great match. I think it would be a terrible build. He's not big enough at the moment to be worthy of that position for me. Mr. Stumble, Naomi does not follow Mercedes. So, pardon me. Mercedes does not follow Naomi like that. She'll make her own decisions. Moxie says, yo, Tom. Welcome, Moxie. Callie forgot that she could post tables. Absolutely. Absolutely. You always get that option. Venom says, did you know why they made LA Knight so dirty, losing every match? Hope this streak loss is a decision by creative for something much better at some point for him. This became a meme. Poor LA. They're getting him on TV because the fans want him, but they don't have any plans for him at the moment, so they're having him lose. Leuven says, Bushi Road is to Stardom and New Japan what Endeavour is to UFC and WWE. It is indeed. More tables in the chat. Lovely. Steve says, Mercedes versus Jade would be great. I'd also love to see Mercedes versus Jamie Hayter. And Michael says, no, he doesn't. Exciting times to be a Mercedes fan. Adam says, according to your knowledge and reports, Vince is happy to have Bray back in WWE. He is. Vince McMahon blocked the firing of Bray Wyatt multiple times before it actually was made official. Bruce, Backlash is the beginning of next month. Carmelina says, I'm excited to see what happens between the Judgment Day and the Bloodline tonight. There are, of course, reports, I believe, from Worked Wrestling, stating that there will be a Strangers on a Train situation with Judgment Day and the Bloodline. And honestly, I'm very excited by that. The year of Judgment Day continues apace. Mark is pointing out 125 people now, only 51 likes. If you're able to, please remember to hit that thumbs up. It really does make a massive difference to the growth of this channel. And we are still looking for just 3 subscribers, just 3 new subscribers to reach that 2,370. So if you are interested in the news that we are reporting, please remember to subscribe because we do this every Monday and every Friday. Trekopedia says, is the Riddle getting destroyed by Solo leading to the return of Orton? Yes and no. Randy Orton is not yet cleared and there are no plans at the moment for him to return to in-ring action. But as I've already reported, Randy Orton and Matt Riddle have unfinished business. No, Dominic, I do not know anything about who Roman might face at Night of Champions. Cody is still the future for Roman Reigns. Hector says, I feel like Mercedes is going on a Drew-like run. When the time is right, she may come back to WWE, but she gets to finally do things she never could while under WWE contract. I hope that's the case. I'd like to see her back in WWE, but when she does return, it needs to be a hell of a run on both sides. Hogan says, worth noting that Vince called up DIY in early 2019, had them beat the Revival and the Bar in back-to-back nights. Also reportedly told Gargano he wanted him to stay when Gargano left in 2021, which is true. There were 4 call-ups, both as tag teams at that point, and Vince McMahon was very interested in really helping the tag team division. Noob says, why do I get the male members of the Judgment Day might take the L at Backlash while Rhea Ripley might get the win? Why not? Year of Judgment Day doesn't have to be all wins. Come on. Chris Leclerc says Bayley should turn on Dakota Kai and Io Sky. Personally, I think the opposite. They should turn on her. Joey says, Dave Meltzer said WWE are in talks with big free agents. Do you know who this could be? Well, that's a nothing report, isn't it? That's an absolute nothing report. Leuven says, when LA Knight broke Xavier Woods' controller, I felt his pain. Those controllers are like $80. Razar says, any update on Naomi? She's still on the roster page. Is she still under contract? No, but she's not under contract anywhere else, so they've left her up there. Venom says, how far are we away from an AJ Styles return? Not long at all. Also, when are we getting DIY? When they're not injured and when the storyline calls for it. KJ, welcome, mate. Says, Tom, this whole Vince wanted to keep Gargano talk is old news. You confirmed it a long time ago, maybe over a year. Very true. I sometimes do forget that. Thank you for reminding me, KJ. James Jones says, hello, Tom. What are you cooking, dude? Much love from Richmond, Virginia. Welcome, mate. Hope you're good as well. Zane says, I hope Taya Valkyrie is the one to beat Jade Cargill. I'm a Taya Valkyrie fan. Chill, welcome. Said hello, Tom. Been a while. It has been a little while. How you doing, mate? Welcome. What's up, KJ? How you doing? Yes, Mr. Stumble, there is more news on CM Punk. It is a little bit down the card of news, but stick around because I will be reading it out moderately shortly. Becky Lynch. I know a lot of people are very interested in what's going on with Becky Lynch. A part of what I was going to report broke earlier today via Fightful Select, but 3 days before that report from Fightful Select, I first reported on Friday that Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins are both actively negotiating new limited date contracts. Now, these limited date contracts are designed to be similar in style to that held by Roman Reigns, and it would offer them more opportunity, much more opportunity, to spend time with their family, raise their child, and basically just live their own lives. So the WWE are interested in making that happen. They would become part-timers, they would become big draw names, similar to where we are with Edge and of course with Roman Reigns. It would mean that they are very unlikely in future to be holding big championships for long periods of time. Roman is the exception rather than the rule on this one. However, it is something that they want to do. Now, at the moment, Becky Lynch going dark is entirely to build towards a storyline with Trish Stratus. But she also wants to make a very, very clear message to the WWE that if Drew McIntyre is negotiating a new contract by going dark, then Becky Lynch can do that too. She's mocking Drew McIntyre. It's quite funny. She will be working with Trish Stratus relatively soon, and this contract is believed to be a much higher priority than that of Drew McIntyre. Now, as regards Becky Lynch, the name change on Twitter back to Rebecca Quinn is intentional, and I don't see the name Rebecca Quinn reverting back to Becky Lynch for one simple reason. In addition to going part-time, Becky Lynch has also had a number of offers from Hollywood, from movies, from TV shows, particularly after the success of her minor appearances on Young Rock. They are interested in working with her. They're interested in essentially building the Rebecca Quinn brand. This would mean that we would have long periods where either Seth Rollins or Becky Lynch are not on TV. Very rare occasions, WrestleMania, the Royal Rumble, for example, when they both would be there. So whatever was reported behind the paywall today, please make sure to remember 3 days ago I reported that Becky Lynch was negotiating a new contract and hers was running out shortly. Today I've confirmed more, and I will confirm further. Well, I'll put this into a video for tomorrow as well, for those who don't watch spoiler warning, so that word can get out as well. Becky Lynch negotiating a new part-time limited day contract and has significant interest from Hollywood that would mean that she'd become a Roman Reigns style talent, making appearances as and when. And it also means that when it comes to the four horsewomen, there is definitely a need for your Bianca Belairs, your Rhea Ripleys, and your Liv Morgans right now. Mark says, when are we getting Gunter and Imperium all holding the titles? Do you think it could happen soon? Unfortunately, I do not. They need to split those titles before we can start talking about something like that happening. But what I will say is that it would be a hell of a sight to see. Jill suggests Charlotte versus Bianca and Rhea versus Becky in Philadelphia. I do think they are building towards Bianca Belair challenging Rhea Ripley for the SmackDown Women's Championship. As regards Charlotte and Becky, they may both be faces at that time. Thank you, Carmelina, for the compliments. Very nice to say. Oh, Mark wanted Gunter holding the world title. I think that'll be a while yet. Ken says, I hope WWE don't make LA Knight the SmackDown jobber. I would argue that they kind of already have, though Karrion Kross is also up there. James Jones says, I saw something about Becky having minor injuries. She's struggling a little bit with recovery from a previous one, but we'll see how that goes. I don't believe Jordynne Grace is attracting much interest from the WWE. Chill. Lubin says, Tom, what was your favourite tag team faction from the NXT Black and Gold era? No question, Undisputed Era. No question whatsoever. Ryan, how you doing, mate? I see you've seen me there. Becky Lynch, drink from dramatic effect. Good morning, Tom and all. Good morning, Ryan. Or good evening if you are in the local area to me. KJ says, limited days. Seth Rollins going part-time. Never thought I'd see the day. Mox is the last one standing. I don't necessarily think that Moxley is going to be full-time for much longer when you consider the beating that his body is taking. Wiggly, how you doing? Says, what's this I'm hearing about Drew McIntyre heading to AEW? Fans are guessing that Drew McIntyre is heading to AEW. Drew McIntyre's contract is not up for another year. A whole year. Ken says, Raw would be much better if Carmella returns tonight. Hector says, Tom Wood, what are your thoughts on all those Matt Riddle videos that have been released to the public? It's a bad look for Riddle and the WWE, and I'm curious to see where this all goes. Well, I haven't seen the videos in question, but I know something of Matt Riddle's history. I know quite a bit about Matt Riddle's history as a wrestling journalist, and I hope a lot more of it starts to see the light of day. Barry says AEW needs protesters like at the Snooker or the Grand National. That'll get it on the news. Wow. Eric says, will WWE doing a return title match between Asuka and Bianca Belair at Backlash? Io Sky seems to have won the opportunity instead. Chill says, is WWE waiting until the draft to refresh storylines and characters? Yes, they are, which is why we're seeing a lot of repeats. The draft was supposed to be earlier than it has been announced as at the moment, but they needed to get more people involved. Particularly, Vince McMahon wanted to oversee the draft and make some changes, so it was pushed back. Leuven says, what are your thoughts on Gallus? Personally, I think they're the best tag team in NXT, head and shoulders above the rest. I think they're all right. Grizzled Young Vets for me were the best ones, though, and I don't think they're going to be seen much more. JJ says, I was waiting on Becky to go to Hollywood in movies and more shows. James says, okay, Tom, great work, man. Keep it up. Thank you, mate. Venom says, do you think we'll get that many NXT call-ups in the draft? No. Chill says, could the Creeds come up to the main roster? Potentially, yes. Zane says, what is the storytelling? Why did Trish Stratus turn heel? Could not tell you. Genuinely have not the slightest clue. Hopefully they put it into context at some point. Leuven says, who do you think's better, Bobby Fish or Kyle O'Reilly? Kyle O'Reilly. I just love his sell. He appeals to me more. James says, I think WWE keeping Drew. You can't let ones like that slip away. That's personally what I see as well. Steve says, Steve hopes the Creed brothers join Chad Gable in Alpha Academy, especially if Otis joins the Maximum Male Models. In many ways, it does look like that's what they're building towards. So that's a very fair point. Kieran says, it feels like wrestlers are going part-time earlier in their careers now. Seth and Roman are only about 36. Very true, but there is a lot more wrestlers and there's a lot more competition for the spots now. And I think as well, people are putting their body and their soul into matches a lot more than they used to. Razar says, when is Becky versus Trish happening? Backlash or Saudi show right after or somewhere else? The rumours are that it will be happening at SummerSlam. Chill. Peter says, I wish sometimes Tom would do a video about Randy's return. About time he did, I think. Yeah, I've never done that one. And funnily enough, not had it referenced when the news came out about a month later. Funny. Joey, we're going to be talking about NXT call-up soon. Literally the next piece. 456 says, what's up, Tom? What's up, chat? What's up, you? Daniel Craigie says, what's the plan for the Hardys? Plans for the Hardys I've already mentioned on the report on Friday, and also a week ago when I reported that Jeff Hardy was going to be returning and that Tony Khan was actively bringing him back. As regards the plans, just to recap slightly, I do advise you check those new shows out, but what I will say is at the moment, the plan is for the tag team. 23 says, what do you think is the greatest debut in wrestling history? Jericho. Still Jericho. Joey says, is Vince going to cancel Bron Breakker's call-up for like the third time? We'll find out. Chill, there'll be a bit on Lashley soon, but unfortunately the match tonight is apparently non-title. Mark says, Trish is apparently going to address Becky Lynch tonight. We're starting the build, so maybe it will be sooner. So Jill says, Mercedes has never said she wants to work with Jade. Maybe not to you, but I'm reporting on negotiations actively with AEW. So that's what I'm reporting on. Aggressive, mate. You all right? Venom says, what's going on with Roderick Strong? I have absolutely no idea. And Daniel is saying, any new CM Punk news? A little bit, yep. That's going to be, 1, 2, 3, the fourth piece of news that I've got at this point in time. James says, Vince has a boss like Dana White now. Vince is Dana White's boss now. Jill says, where do you think WWE is going with Seth for next? I reported that one on Friday. Well worth checking out, I believe. And as I say, a part-time contract is on the way. Leuven says, Seth being part-time kind of hurts because I personally feel like he deserves the push that Roman is getting. Hector says, with WWE potentially making the third hour of Raw more mature, it's good that they have Cody on the roster because you know he's ready to bleed on command. Mark says, I might have misheard, but did you say we would hear something about NXT EU? I did not mention NXT Europe at all, no. Daniela says, the Creed brothers are getting called up. Will Ivy Nile be called up with them as they're in the Diamond Mine together? Update on Roddy. No update on Roddy, as I mentioned earlier. Ivy Nile, I'm just not sure. After all, you're asking based on an assumption that someone's going to get called up. If this happens, will this happen? And I can't answer those questions, unfortunately. 23 says, Fresh says, what's your favourite theme song? It's My Time, Triple H. Mr. Stumble says, who do you think is a better model, Otis or Rick Martel? Otis is a beautiful man. I'll never hear anyone say otherwise. Ghost says, hello, Tom and chat. Hope everyone's doing well. I think I might be able to clear up some of the confusion with the Trish and Becky storyline. After the attack, Trish told Becky, I'm sorry you were in the spotlight. I'm sorry you chose Lita over me. My theory is they're going for a typical jealousy storyline. I kind of hoped that Trish Stratus was going to be Mickie James in this story. That'd been fun. Venom is asking for news on AOP and the revival. As Ed points out, FTR have re-signed with AEW. As regards AOP, still nothing at this point. Jill says, do you buy the talk the Elite are doing and just waiting for their official deal to expire? I mean, they've not signed a new deal yet, so maybe. Adam says, do you see any main roster cuts? No comment. Jill says, I want AEW to sign Goldberg. I love seeing the tears. Ooh. Stuart says, spoiler warning, needs a name change to check my Randy video from February. Me thanks. And then he says, Nick Aldis said in an interview if he went to WWE he would be in catering. Fair enough. Fair enough. Joey says, is Roderick Strong waiting out in his contract or did he suffer a bad injury? I have absolutely no news whatsoever on Roderick Strong. I get asked this question quite a bit and I don't have anything. I keep trying, but there's nothing coming out. Mr. Stumble says the third hour of Raw is more mature. Does that mean I'll have to stay up to watch to see the hardcore legend ex-con Dom? Yes, absolutely. And if you don't, you're just not a real fan. Do you remember when you get like Inside the Ropes magazine? It'd be like real wrestling fans only. And like, wow, the gatekeeping is ridiculous. Our next piece of news is as regards NXT and certain members of the NXT roster that Vince McMahon has personally commented on as being very impressive. We do have 120 people still in the chat. If you're able to, please remember to hit like. We have 61 at the moment. We are a little off the 100, but I'd very much appreciate if we can get closer to it, if at all possible. We've got 61 at the moment. Can we get to 70? Also, please subscribe if you haven't already. We are just 3 subscribers away from 2,370, and I'd be very, very happy to get numbers like that. There are 2 people that have been specifically mentioned in conversation between Vince McMahon and Triple H as regards NXT and people that Vince McMahon wants to see called up in the draft. Those 2 people are fairly obvious when I'm going to read them out, I promise you. Roxanne Perez, who recently basically just gave up the NXT Women's Championship, however part-time it may be. She is not the champion at the moment and was saved from a loss. The second is Gigi Dolan, who is said to be one of Vince McMahon's favourites and particularly earning praise for her promo work since splitting entirely from what was Toxic Attraction. Vince McMahon wants to ensure the Roxanne and Gigi Dolan are on fast track to the top, or if you'll forgive the term, they're on their way to the moon. That's a bit NXT, isn't it? So yeah, not huge pieces of news there, but I found it interesting that Vince McMahon would single these out. Venom would love to see Roman versus Tyler Bate. I would not. 23 said that the WWE and Impact Wrestling having talks with ESPN. Not to my knowledge, no. What about? Juan says the fact that AEW had to let Warner Discovery officials know CM Punk is coming back is not a good look for TV rights renewals. Who reported that one, Juan? Have you got a source for me? Leuven says, why do people care about Roderick so much? No one cared about him when he was on TV. They did. I did get questions about him. I did get quite a few questions about him when he was on TV as well. Jill wants Bronson Reed and Lashley to do a Peter Griffin versus a chicken type story. That could be fun. Dad says, do you think Ray versus Dominic 2 happens at SummerSlam or before? Maybe. Mellencamp, how you doing? Says a soft brand split just because the EVPs are butthurt they were called out on their BS. CM Punk has been on cards in front of 65,000. Punk is a money draw. Omega and the Bucks aren't that simple. I would disagree saying that the Elite aren't draws. And I know that this particular debate has got a lot of people on very clear sides. Very clear sides on this one. Personally, I think I think we're closer to just slap bang in the middle. Personally, I don't think either side have really covered themselves in glory, but I don't think either side is particularly in the wrong either. Her says, when is Elias going to return? Who wants to walk for Elias with such a good build-up? He has returned. He's just not wrestling much because they don't have anything for him. Jill says, Bronze's New Japan run was great. I want to see in WWE put him against all the beefy men. His best work, I feel, was against Kazuchika Okada. Leuven says, Roxanne is a star. Leon echoes that, saying Roxy is great. Daniel says, any news on Miro or Andrade? Not at this point in time. What I've already reported is the most information that I have on it. Joey says, why isn't Grizzled Young Vets getting back their old gimmicks? Because the WWE have no interest in giving them back an old gimmick. They don't like to go backwards. Zane, I have been known to interview wrestlers, but I don't have the contacts at this point in time to interview more. Joey, just because Braun's name isn't on the list doesn't mean that he's not someone that Vince McMahon likes. I've just only heard about 2 people. Adam says, has Vince positively commented on any of the talent Triple H has brought back? I don't know. Kieran says, I tried to look it up last time, but I couldn't find anything online about it. What has Tyler Bate done? Something as it seems you don't really like him. I'm not a fan of Tyler Bate. Ed says, how dare you use Cameron Grimes' line without mentioning him? Well, I knew you'd be right there. Right there. Mark says, Gigi's promo last week about herself was brilliant. Jill says, AEW would be dumb not to take a shot at Adam Cole being Keith Lee's manager. Thank you for mentioning your source there, Juan Orozco. I do believe that from Dave Meltzer then. When it comes to networks, he is a very credible source. Callie says, anything on the male NXT call-ups? Again, the only ones that I know of is that Bron Breakker's been promised a call-up a number of times. Jill says, this CM Punk Elite thing is going to be a disaster, isn't it? Yes. And Leuven says, Roxanne is a prodigy, could be the Randy Orton or John Cena of women's division, 15 plus years and hopefully becomes bigger than Becky Lynch. Zane Charles is a big fan of Tyler Bate. I'm not. Hogan said it's been rumoured that Ivy Niles is very well liked backstage, to the point she was even a Rumble alternate this year. Any truth to that? I'm not aware of her being a Rumble alternate. I think they were pretty happy with the Rumble choices that they had. And Ivy Niles, to my knowledge, was not at the Royal Rumble, so that doesn't really fit the system of being an alternate, but we are where we are. Mr. Stumble says, Tom, what's your favourite silly storyline? Mine was when Edge and Booker T fought at WrestleMania 18 over a shampoo commercial. The Hand. Jill says, what do you think about journalists taking sides on Punk and Elite? Isn't that biased? Yes, it is. However, they are people. They're entitled to opinions. But as a journalist, your job is not to have favourites. Your job is not to pick sides. Your job is to report the news. Joey says, did Lacey Evans get pulled from TV again? Yep, they're rebranding her again. Go says, Roxanne, I can understand. With all due respect, Gigi needs more time to grow as a solo competitor, considering how long she was attached to Mandy and especially JC. James believes that we'll see 3 or 4 NXT call-ups during the draft. Razar says, Roxanne and Gigi are the ones who stand out to me from NXT 2. I guess me and Vince see the vision. Leuven says, Kenny Omega's the best in the world. CM Punk came back and was a shell of his former self. A lot of people picking sides again. Jill says, what do you think about a certain journalist taking screenshots of people following him after he gets scolded? It's juvenile. And it's also whataboutism, because you'll note that when he's told that, this has already been reported, this is wrong, or, you're not being a very nice person right now, his response is to post a screenshot rather than actually deal with anything that is actually being levied against him. And you'll note that most of his base, most of his fans, swallow that shit up. Eric, I'm not currently planning to go to All In, no. Though if I do, I'll let you all know so that I can get a meetup going. New says, Gigi Dolan's promos have been great since being apart from Toxic Attraction. Mellencamp says, when Braun Breaker gets called up, I hope he does a math promo like his uncle did in TNA. Ricky says, any news on JC Jane? Just that, when the breakup happened, she is being considered to be the Marty Jannetty rather than the Shawn Michaels of the crew. Spider Cop, welcome, says, what do you know about Bron Breakker's call-up to the main roster so far? Just that it's been cancelled several times. Ken says, were you ever a Tommy Dreamer fan? Didn't see enough of him, to be honest. Didn't see enough. Chill says, do you think Cena versus Logan is the first lock for SummerSlam? No. I think Roman versus Cody is the first lock for SummerSlam. James says, I can't pick sides. It's a disgrace. It's stupid on all parties. Venom says, do you think Indy holds on to the NXT title that long so she can be called up? Others in NXT need that title more than her. I disagree that others need it more than her. She, after all, has never held that championship, and she's been missing for a while, so I think it's a good thing for her. Mark says, the problem I see with Kenny and the Young Bucks versus FTR and Punk is who's going to have the guts to pick the winner, as I don't see TK doing it. Yeah, they're not going to have that match. Venom says, do you think Styles could dethrone Austin Theory? I think everything is on the table and anyone could dethrone anyone. Mr. Stumble says, are you excited to know that Mae Young's hand is approaching 14? That's a big number. That's a big number. And Joey says, is the hiring process going to change again with Vince back in power, or is Triple H still allowed to sign who he wants? I discussed all of this on Monday, spoiler warning, covering the changes to the financial situation there. Trekipedia said, to whoever says Omega isn't a draw, go watch his matches of Okada and how many people watched. He's a draw. He is. It is a fact. He's a draw. Mr. Stumble says, age when people start... Oh, gotcha. Steve says, are you a fan of Dark Side of the Ring? If so, you're looking forward to the recently announced 4th season. I'm glad they make it. It does really good journalistic work. I've not had time to sit down and watch many of them. Zane says, Grayson Waller getting a call-up? I cannot report that at this point in time. Vince McMahon, once again, is making changes to the draft, and I don't have any information about what's going to happen there. And Venom says, if Braun calls up, do you think Cora Jade follows him? Once again, you base that on an assumption. If this happens, will this happen? I don't answer those questions. Michael says, I don't get why they couldn't have had Roxanne put over Indy clean. That's how it should be. It's the passing of the torch. Yeah, you go out on your back. That's how it should be, and I completely agree. I don't get it much either. Something went on there. Something went on. So we still have a bit of news to cover. We have 69 likes, which is nice. Can we get to 75? We'll only need 6 more to do that. We have 120 people currently watching. Also, please do remember to subscribe if you haven't already. We do spoiler warning every Monday and every Friday, meaning you get exclusive news that you can't find anywhere else, including the Becky Lynch news about her contract renegotiation, which was reported first on Friday on spoiler warning, and then 3 days later it popped up behind a paywall at Fightful. So please do remember to subscribe for more news like that. Bobby Lashley is reportedly unhappy and very frustrated with his creative position on the WWE card. The move from wrestling Brock Lesnar after a non-definitive finish, after Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar's last feud ended in a non-definitive finish, despite the WWE knowing that Bobby Lashley returned to the WWE to have a proper feud with Brock Lesnar, and in fact they nearly lost him and lost... He nearly wasn't willing to sign a new contract the last time they failed to honour that promise. They now have made the move to put him against Bray Wyatt and then cut him from WrestleMania entirely. The win in the Battle Royal was an apology to Bobby Lashley. He is still not happy with his creative. He, much like Drew McIntyre, is talking to the WWE about getting back into the championship pursuit, and it is adding a lot of pressure on Triple H to get this championship off Roman Reigns. Bobby Lashley wants to get back to the WWE Championship. Drew McIntyre wants to get back to the WWE Championship. Brock Lesnar, in many ways, wants to get back to the WWE Championship. It's causing issues when it comes to contract extensions. Also, just quickly on that one, there is currently a lot of creative frustration as regards plans for Baron Corbin. He's extremely well liked backstage in the WWE. They are trying to find something for him, but everything pitched by creative so far has been turned down by Triple H, and he is not interested in most of the different options that are being presented to him. Baron Corbin, right now, they are really struggling to get him out of creative hiatus. Hopefully he lands on something soon, or they at least get him back on TV soon, but it looks like Baron Corbin might not be getting the rub of the green for a while now. There's not many comments added since the last part, so I'll just catch up on them. Chill Dude says, how much longer do you think Roman is champ, and will it be Cody or other? I think he's champ until maybe SummerSlam, and then it will be Cody, but I'm not sure anymore. Adam says, I don't get it. Vince, just hope Vince sees something and changes his mind about the likes of Braun Strowman and Bronson Reed. They are super talented superstars. What do you think his opinion is on Braun Strowman and Bronson Reed, mate? Like, what do you think that is his opinion? Chill says, you think the world titles are going to be split at the draft? Yes, I do. And Venom thinks Bobby should go to SmackDown. I think he might go there. Zane says, would WWE be interested in signing Deonna Purrazzo? Yes. Lewin says, when is Bobby's contract up? I don't have that information, unfortunately. I just know when he last signed it was a 3-year contract. I believe it's been nearly 2. Marcel says, do you think we are having a European tour around Money in the Bank time, or are they no longer coming to Europe for WWE Live? They're coming to Europe for the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. They're coming to the UK for the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. So they're still doing it. Well, let's just say the UK is offering them quite a lot of money. Steve says, I'd like to see Bobby Lashley move to SmackDown in the draft. Lashley versus Roman is a feud with their current characters is long overdue. I completely agree. Peter says, breaking news, I don't want the WWE Championship. Triple H is relieved. Ken says, will there be releases? I've already reported at length about that, and I don't really like talking about potential releases. The report that I did on Monday as regards the WWE financial situation is the one you want to check out. Jill says, Hurt Business versus Imperium for War Games. Oh. Can we also throw Judgment Day and Bloodline in there and just go to war? Chill says, Cora to dethrone Indy? Maybe. Callie says, do you think they will ever turn Corbin face? I think they could, and I think there are definitely ways to do that. This is one of the only times I will actually endorse going backwards on a character. Bum-ass Corbin was solid. Bum-ass Corbin was good. Feed him more. Stumble says, Bobby Lashley once beat up Simon Dean and force-fed him 16 cheeseburgers as a stipulation. No wonder he's concerned about creative. Okay, that sounds crazy. Leon says, is Bobby frustrated with creative or Bray? Creative. It's not Bray Wyatt, his issue is with creative. Joey says, does Omos have any creative plans, or are they just going to use him for one-off matches against older talent? There are very few creative plans for Omos right now. They have not capitalised on his momentum. He is likely to be doing a few more squashes as we go forwards. And Danielle says, how can the world titles be split if Roman holds them both? If Roman is drafted to SmackDown, they may well strip him of the WWE Championship. Shogun says, of all the works Corbin does, damn, I feel bad for him. I know he never got a belt since forever. He really deserves something someday, like Mark Henry. I agree. Ghost says, the fact that numerous main event caliber talents want to go back into the main event scene and can't truly speaks volumes. Having Roman hold both titles for over a year was a bad idea and is bound to cause issues eventually. I agree with that. Kieran says, there's got to be an arena big enough somewhere they can have 4 rings in, one for each team. Yeah, just cut out some seats. You could fit it in Full Sail. Mark says, on main event last week, Tyler Bate versus Dolph Ziggler got this as awesome chance by the fans. Hopefully seeing Bate in the main roster soon. I hope not. I really hope not. Eric wants to side Corbin again. Venom says, I understand WWE superstars frustrated. Roman is hogging both world titles and is starting to take the piss. And Joey says, the Lone Wolf was the best version of Baron Corbin. Ken says, Triple H has no interest in Baron Corbin. That's the way Triple H turns down storylines. That isn't true. Triple H is a big fan of Baron Corbin and would very much like to get him back into the fold and back into the picture. But unfortunately, he's turning down options because the creative is not good. Hogan says, in regards to the EU tour, looks like they're still doing it. 26th of April in Birmingham, 27th in Manchester, 28th in Belfast, and 29th in Paris. Thank you, Hogan, for looking that up for me. Joey says, do you think WWE can afford to wait until SummerSlam to take titles off of him? I don't think it really matters. If they want to, they will. Trekkipedia says, do you see Waller being one NXT talent who never gets a title and gets called up? No, I don't. And Venom says, do you think Roman gets drafted to Raw? Not sure, I don't think so. JJ says, do they not let the superstars say if they like a story or not? Like, do they have a choice or not to do it? No, they do not have creative control. They do the storylines they're given. Joey says, damn, you really hate Tyler Bates. See, here's the thing. Hate takes effort. I don't really hate, but hate takes a lot of effort. You have to focus on hating someone. You're not wrong. No, Adam, I'm not aware of anything for Leon Roth. Dylan, hi, how you doing? Says, hi Tom, do you think Drew McIntyre will leave WWE because of what's been going on? Personally, no, but I don't think WWE are going to offer him the assurances that he's looking for, so he'd need to back down in order to make that happen. Shogun says, why it was really one of the worst returns I saw since I watched WWE again. Feel bad for everyone wanting him to return, including myself, for this. Eric says, how about having him drafted to both brands so he can defend both titles? I don't believe that's an option in a draft. Callie suggests maybe they should invest in some new creative writers. I agree. I agree with that. Venom says, do you think he's stripped of the WWE title before SummerSlam? Don't know. No idea. Mike says, does wanting to be back in the championship picture mean they actually want the championship or they just want to be at the top of the card again? Bit of both. I personally suspect that for both of them, they want the championship. Mazar says, Omos has been becoming pretty popular online with memes. Surprised WWE isn't capitalising on it. They are following through the plans they had. If the meme becomes strong enough, as you all know, if the meme is strong, they will book it. Two more pieces of news, two final pieces of news. One is as regards Nick Khan confirming a report from myself, so I'll quickly get that one out of the way. Nick Khan has confirmed my reporting as regards Triple H. He is solely in charge of creative. He has full creative control, and he is the chief content officer, and also every single thing that he wants to put through is signed off by Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon will continue to work remotely in support of Triple H in order to get Triple H's creative vision over. However, as I've said, Vince McMahon can get involved whenever he wants and has done plenty of times. He is actively rewriting quite a lot of different things in the draft, and that's the reason that it has been delayed. Final piece of news is as regards CM Punk. He has officially confirmed to Tony Khan that he wants to return and is ready to return. He is going to be assessed briefly by AEW doctors, but is believed to be a formality. He will be coming out to the opening of the new show. This has been reported by Dave Meltzer, and it seems a lock as we speak. CM Punk will return to AEW programming. The new TV show has been set up almost entirely purely for him. He wants to try and compete with WWE and WWE pay-per-views. He believes he can do it. He's one of very few people outside of AEW, but a lot of people in AEW definitely think he will. Joey says, do you think Vince is going to get involved with contract negotiations next year? Yes, he absolutely has the ability to do that. Any money will have to come through him. Zane says, will we ever see Ezekiel return? I hope so. He made a big impression on me. Bruce says, will he ever go back to Raw champion and SmackDown champion? Yes. Alice says, is Vince at Raw tonight? Not to my knowledge, no. Ryan says, all these new international dates are rad and all, but I'm still waiting for the Aussie show I got tickets for in 2019. Wow. Ken says, will Ezekiel Jackson ever return to WWE? No. Jill says that there are big plans for LWO and is the interaction with Ray the big rub. The interaction with Ray is the big rub. There are not huge plans, but there are plans. Jill believes that WWE has a big chance to capitalise on momentum in the draft. Dylan says, do you think KO and Sami will lose their titles before Night of Champions? Given Sami's heritage, he's not allowed to go to Saudi Arabia. Yeah, I kind of do, though. I hope they just don't defend the championships. That's what I'd hope for. That makes more sense to me. Jill says, how about Santos versus Gunter? Would be fun. Wouldn't be fun for Santos. Bruce says, as regards, he's speaking to Stuart Ridley. Cool. Kieran says, it's sad that adults that are meant to be professionals just can't work together, so they had to make another show. It's like something they do at school. It's all very childish, all very silly, and all very going nowhere. CM Punk remains a flight risk, as I've said previous, and I very much repeat that thought. I do want to drop a link to the Discord chat one more time. For anyone who's not already in the Discord, I would like to drop an invite for you so that you can join us there. Please be sure to pay attention to the what I've referred to as the Good Faith Agreement. The Good Faith Agreement is what essentially determines the rules and guidelines for the chat. But as long as you enter into debates, discussions and conversations in good faith, I'd be very happy to invite all of you to the Discord, where the moderators here are also the moderators there. I take things, I take charge by and large in there myself. I've written the rules out myself, but we're able to share a lot more news there, have conversation about shows, and at some point, every now and then, someone does put a show in and share it on the Discord that you may enjoy as well. Joey says, do you know if Pete Dunne is still going back to his old gimmick, or did Vince change that too? To my knowledge, that has not been changed. Chill says, back in the day I thought Corbin versus Brock would have been big rub for Corbin. I agreed with that at the time. Venom says, do you think the Usos regain the title on SmackDown, or if another team gets it, who do you think could do it? I think Judgment Day could do it. Trekkipedia says, who would you like to see win Money in the Bank for men and women this year? I'd like to see LA Knight and Io Sky. Personally, I'd like to see Damian Priest. I think it'd be a very good pick for that position. And personally, going to the women, I would probably go with someone like Asuka. I think she'd be very good in that role. Alex says, the Discord is a fun place to be. Thank you, Alex. Zane, I did enjoy that, thank you. Richard says, there is a rumour Cora Jade will start rivalry with Zoe Stark in NXT history. Where is that rumour coming from, Richard? Ryan says, speaking of acting childish, why does wrestling seem to have this high-level unprofessional behaviour? Any other workplaces would be inexcusable. Is it simply a high-ego workplace? Yeah, because if you don't have a high ego, it's very difficult to make it in wrestling, so I kind of get it. Yes, Ken, I live in Blackpool. Daniel says, any chance CM Punk will return with Eye of the Tiger as theme music? Why would... I don't understand why would that happen. And Hogan says, my only hope is that they put a championship on Sammy 8 days before a Sammy show. He won the IC title 8 days before Elimination Chamber 2022, sending a clear message at times there. We have gone past the hour and Tom Colohue wants to get some sleep. So I want to say a massive thank you to all new subscribers, 2 new members and all of the members who are here as well. Everyone who's commented, everyone who's hit like, all 73 of you, and everyone who's been here, even if you were only here for a second. Let's see if we hit our subscriber goal. Not quite. We gained 2 new subscribers. We're in need of 3. We haven't quite hit 2,370. So if you've enjoyed the show and enjoyed the news, please subscribe and there'll be plenty more to come. There'll be videos coming out over the next few days about Becky Lynch, about Drew McIntyre, and our daily wrestling rumours will be returning both on here and on TikTok. If you have TikTok, look me up at Tom Colohue. Pardon me, at Tom Colohue. In the meantime, thank you everyone for your time. Thank you everyone for your company and your friendship and very, very nice words that so many of you have sent me. Thank you very much, and I'll see you all very soon.